Innisfil Legion in Alberta. Packed house. Seats are full, standing room only, still people outside. Tonight is a livestock traceability information session. Should be getting underway in about 10 minutes. We saw this week actually Premier Danielle Smith come out and announce that they were going to put a pause on the start of these proposed regulations. So they might be paused, but there are still a lot of people that are engaged and concerned about where things are going. We've got a lot of things going on. A lot of trucks here, some cattle trucks, a lot of people in cowboy hats. Farmers are concerned about the way things are going. I'll have more coming from Innisfil. Packed house here. Oh, and right on cue, it's Al Burton.
Oh, okay, I think that's good. So for those people who are unfamiliar with the cattle industry, I mean, there have been traceability measures in place since BSE, so mad cow disease back in the day. And these traceability measures don't just affect cattle, they also affect sheep because of scrapie, which is the adjacent disease to mad cow disease. But this would require producers to submit tag numbers, premises identification, origin and destination locations, movement dates, and even vehicle license plate numbers. The rules also would not just apply to large commercial cattle operations, but to small acreage owners, your boutique farmer next door. So, no matter how many animals you own, including those meant for personal consumption. So they want to know, every single live birth that takes place on a farm, and the mandatory digital reporting within 7 days for every livestock movement, including veterinary visits, community pastures, cattle shows and rodeos, carcass disposal, on the farm deaths, and all live animal births. So this is, even if the young man next door to me on the other side of the fence raises a steer for personal consumption, it's born on the farm, he raises it for personal consumption, he's got an on-the-farm butcher shop, and never leaves his property and only ever ends up from his barn to his freezer. The CFIA wants to know about this. And farmers are livid.
Yeah.
Immediate pushback on this. This is digital ID for your animals. And, gun owners know, registration almost always leads to confiscation, or in this case, possible wide-scale culls for all sorts of reasons. And the CFIA has paused these measures that were supposed to come into place, I think, January 1st, 2026. But they're not gone. They're just sitting there until they figure it out. I'll go to Corey first.
Yeah, well, it's the nature of bureaucrats. It's all about control. It's never enough. They want to know anything, everything that has always happened and get their hands in on it. They don't care about the expense to the producer, the expense of adding more bureaucrats to keep up with all this information they're gathering. It's a solution looking for a problem, and it will turn into a problem. Another part of the issue is, as you've pointed out, is we've got a lot of mistrust with the government in general. We don't know what their intentions are today or what their intentions might be down the road. We've got maniacs out there with a fetish over climate change that talk about cow farts being what's actually pushing the problems around the world, as you said, with firearms. The first step is registering. And then if you want to control it and take it out or reduce it or make it more expensive, well, once you know anything and everything that's going on, even from the part-timer who's just taken one to, as you said, to a fair or a show or something, or somebody with a boutique a handful of steers on their place, has to register all this, they can come and take control of it. I'm glad they're standing up and pushing back. It shows that they've pushed too far, and hopefully this just fails where it should.
Yeah, this has sort of been happened in the works in the background for a little bit. I think it probably caused the cleave between the Alberta beef producers leaving the Canadian Cattle Association, because the Canadian Cattle Association, I don't think, came out strong enough on this. They basically said, there's a lot of things happening in the background and blah, blah, blah. And that's not what Western producers wanted to hear. They wanted to hear, hell no.
Yeah. The response of the official sort of Cattlemen's Association was milk toast at best,
Mhm.
and this really sort of got the fur up of individual producers who said, "Well, aren't you supposed to be representing us? Because if you were representing us, you would have a completely different set of things to say." But this is also a concern in Saskatchewan. Scott Moe, I think, has come out and said that
Yeah.
he's happy that it's been paused, but the CFIA is now being forced to sleep in a bed that they made. All of their actions at the ostrich farm contributed to public suspicion of their agency, and the public, the cattle producers, have every reason to be suspicious of CFIA and how they do business, because as the ostrich farm dragged on over, what was it, 10 months? 10
Yeah.
months they dragged those farmers through the absolute manure pile, and every producer in the entire country thought to themselves, that could be me. So no, if we're looking at the level of trust that producers have in the CFAA right now, it's zero. It's 0%.
It is,
So
some of
sorry,
it feels
CFIA.
so anti-American reflexive, and maybe I'm just seeing patterns where I probably shouldn't see them. But
Hmm.
while America is ending the war on beef, we're ramping ours up here. Like it's just seems peculiar. And at least I'm glad you brought up people not having trust in the CFIA. Back in September, the CFIA was brought before the Ag Committee, and we've shown this clip on the show before, but it goes to show you what exactly is wrong with the CFIA. They have systemic problems there that they should not be bequeathed more power and responsibility
Hmm.
from the state. Um, they have a chief redress officer at the CFIA, and like 1/3 of the complaints against the CFIA, for whatever the decision it was, were found to be justified. So they get 1 in every 3 things entirely wrong. And sometimes entirely wrong means culling your entire herd. We can show this clip. And at the end of the day, they've been given more responsibility with less accountability.
And I would ask Mr. Iannarone, and thank you for your answers, if you would also table with the committee. We had known that with the chief redress officer as part of the CFIA was a very critical office that was eliminated by the Liberal government. And we know that almost 27%, or well over a quarter, of all the complaints brought in by customers and producers and businesses to the CFIA were justified, and many of those decisions had to be reversed. Can you table with this committee an updated report on how many CFIA complaints were received since 2015 to present, broken down by subject matter, by province, and the outcome of those complaints? That would be very helpful to this report as well.
So what I think is important there is they know that there's a systemic problem with just getting stuff wrong. 27% of the complaints were founded against the CFIA. And so what did the CFIA do? They eliminated the position that was taking the complaints instead of fixing the obvious systemic problem about them getting things wrong.
It sounds like a government solution. And let's not forget that the CFIA has spent the last 5 years
Yeah.
bolstering their DEI employment requirements. So if you're a disabled person, okay, if you're a disabled person that's good at tech, well, the CFIA wants you, which puts like the people that are working at the CFIA and the people that are supposed to be served by the CFIA have absolutely nothing in common. The people at the CFIA don't know what it's like to be a farmer, and
Sure.
that's problematic, I think.
Corey.
Yeah, well, I just, I keep tying it into more of why we, and that might be a future subject, need to get away from that federal system, because it's
Yep.
totally
Oh, yeah.
disconnected in thought or notions about what Western producers have to deal with, what their interests are, what their long-term interests are. That's not in their DNA. As was pointed out, they're hiring DEI people rather than experts within food production, whether it's cattle or otherwise, and it's only going to get worse. And yeah, it's not shocking, but it still catches us gobsmacked. Here's the problem. Okay, let's just cut away the area so we don't have to hear about it. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. I just hope to see more of a pushback against this. That the whole ostrich affair really did a show the danger that an unchecked bureaucracy can cause.
Yeah.
People forget about bureaucracies. They see police, they see frontline law enforcement. They forget there are jackboots going on behind government closed doors as well, but they're wearing cheap suits and they are in government offices, and they're just as dangerous and damaging to you and your well-being and your freedoms as any other police officer can offer.
Without
And
question.
looks like producers have had enough. So that's a good development.
Yeah, I saw the CFIA at work firsthand at that ostrich farm, and I watched those guys get outsmarted by ostriches all day long, all day, every day. I watched it like TV. It was you don't have a lot of cell reception out there, so it was quite entertaining for me to see like dozens of CFIA agents not able to get an ostrich through a gate. I'm like, these guys have zero experience with animals whatsoever. They don't know how to I guess, to use like my own experience, they don't know how to push cattle. So they didn't know how to push an ostrich. It was like a crazy, crazy thing.